Again, stage crew is canceled today. Congratulations to students of Marshall Junior High. 7th grade, Sebastian DeLong. 8th grade, Tim. Anyone going to the Fort Cherry varsity basketball game tomorrow, please show your support for Nicole Stewart. The Fort Cherry student recently diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. Now they are critical to the game. The Sharkies is only collecting donations and will approve the weapons tomorrow. And will the following students please support the library 240 today? Jonathan Hoffman, Tim Levy, Cameron Wallace, Bill Wilson, Austin Baker, and Russell. And this concludes your afternoon announcements.
I'm too quick.
So let's look at the sum roll. The only way, this is super important, the only way you can sum two integrals together the only way to add two functions together on an interval from A to C is if the B values match. So we kind of ran into that issue the other day because it wanted us to do 2 to 5, but we knew 1 to 5, and we knew, forget what it was, 0 to 5 maybe?
Yes.
Or 2 to 1. We knew 1 to 2 and we knew 1 to 5. So you had to subtract away the 1 to 2 from the 2 to 5. So again, these two numbers here have to match in order to add the integrals together. So the A to the B has to match the B to the C here. So this B must match this B value in order to add the two together. Because you have to pick up where you left off. You may add two functions together over the same interval by adding them separately. So you can find the area function f and the area function g and add or subtract them together as long as they're over the same interval. Yes. Kind of. Okay, well, there are two students in here who do not have Mr. Mannion, so this is for them.
I wasn't trying to make a point.
I would love to see that.
He didn't teach it. Hey, he definitely does. Notice he moved a lot.
At the beginning of the school year. Yeah. I said the house that is near me is his mom's house.
I'm really gonna say 99% of Mr. Manning does not have a mansion. Like with his own basketball? Like, I really don't think. Like, I can't even read what his shoes are. He definitely doesn't have a mansion.
All right, the integral from 2 to 6 of f of x plus g of x. So again, same beginning and end point. So what you can do is you can look at the two functions separately. This is kind of like saying 2 to 6 of f of x dx plus 2 to 6 of g of x dx equals 10 plus negative 2 or 8. Conversely, you can flip the order. So you can do 2 to 6 of g of x dx minus 2 to 6 of f of x dx. And why we're showing this is to show that the order you add, subtract, and move their parts around totally changes the value. So from 2 to 6, the area under the curve is negative 2. But from 2 to 6 of f, the area under the curve is 10. But now we're subtracting 10 from negative 2, so we end up with negative 12. This is an example of a constant. So remember, you can bring that constant out in front. So it's just kind of like saying 3 times the value of this integral, which is 10, or 30. Be careful on letter D. This is not bringing out a constant.
Right.
Because if you separate these, this is 2 to 6 of f of x dx plus the integral of 2 to 6 of 2 dx. Because 2 is its own function. So this is a constant. That would be deriving. Remember, we're going backwards now. So we're going to get area under 2. So where it's the area, exactly, the integral will be 2x. What's the area under a line of 2 from 2 to 6? Have fun tomorrow. Okay, so the integral is from 2 to 6, which is 4. So you gotta do 4 times 2, which is 8. I know, I'm explaining for them.
Because, remember how you did it?
Oh, yeah, because it's 4 times.
No, listen.
Do you understand it?
Yeah. If you integrate that function, that becomes.
So this function currently is a line.
Yeah. 2x, and then you have to 12 minus.
Yeah.
It's a line. It makes a box from 2 to 6, basically, with a height of 2. That's what's happening. Find an area under the curve for the line y equals 2 from 2 to 6, hence the 8.
Me too. Just don't want
I'm
to
so weird.
open out. Weird.
All right. So now we have a completely different set of functions and a different set of areas. So now we're talking about from 0 to 5 and 5 to 7. Those functions are f of x. So what's the area from 0 to 7? Well, this is the case where you have to sum two integrals together. So it's 0 to 7 f of x dx, which is equal to 0 to 5. Sorry, it should be a 5. Plus the integral from 5 to 7. So in order to get 0 to 7, I have to sum the two together, and these 5s had to match up. So now I get 10 plus 3, or 13. If the upper and lower bounds flip from what you are given, to flip the bounds, you take the opposite of the original. So this will be equal to negative 0 to 5 of f of x dx, which means this is equal to negative 10. If the upper and lower limits are the same, the area under the curve, and if you have a constant, so you get 3 times 10.
Easy peasy.
So if only life stayed easy. Now we have a case where we want to go from 1 to 3. But I don't know 1 to 3. I know negative 1 to 1, or I know negative 1 to 3. Yeah, so what I have to do is I have to go from negative 1 to 3 and take away the negative 1 to 1. But in order to do that, the upper and lower bounds have to match, which means however I write these together, this must be a negative 1 and this has to be a negative 1. Because these two numbers have to match. So I need the first one to be a 1. Exactly. So what I'm going to do is in order to make this from 1 to negative 1, I have to make this a negative. So I'm going to take negative h of r dr and add to it negative 1 to 3 of h of r dr. So in this case, what's the negative 0 going to do to this problem? Absolutely nothing. So if you switch this so that these bounds match, you take negative 0, but negative 0 is still 0, so 0 plus 6 is 6. What if instead of asking from 1 to 3, I asked you to go from 3 to 1? So ignore the negative that's in front of us right now. So ignore the negative. Now I want you to go from 3 to 1 instead of 1 to 3. Okay? So I'm asking how you could write these to work. Like, let's say I didn't know this. I'd have to flip this, right?
Yeah.
So my 3 comes first. The negative 1 goes up top. So to flip this, I'd have to have made that negative. And then do these already match up now? So it's like negative 1, 2, 1. So you'd have had negative and then a negative 6. So do you see how we still end up with a positive 6? Because if from 1 to 3 was 6, to get this, you had to make that negative, but then they tacked a negative on in front. A lot of times you see the negative in front and think it implied the flipping. But it's not implying the flipping. You have to do the flipping and then tack on the negative, which is why I want to show you the math behind it and why this is positive 6 and not negative 6. Because every time I give this on a quiz, you just write negative 6 because you already did this. No. Don't you want to learn the power rule today?
No.
Nope.
But I gotta change that.
Do like
Or
one,
they don't.
just do like 1 to 3, 1 to 2. Or we could just redo the 2 problems from last night.
Okay, I want you to do 1 to 5.
No.
Is it just 2? I thought you missed 3.
So,
And then we
There's
got the
like
very
14
right bottom
things
one. I didn't tell you 21. So that's fine. Then the 2 you missed and 21 are due tomorrow. 2 you missed and 21 plus these 5 problems.